back to the greenhouse. Today's Monday. I believe it's November 16th. It is. And one second, I need some cappuccino. Okay, and I'm really excited. So, in the last video, we talked about this growing medium that I mixed up. Okay, if you'll remember, it was equal parts of perlite, vermiculite, and peat moss. A couple of things that have impressed me right away. So, if you recall, I have holes in the bottom of this tray. Yesterday, I noticed the growing medium was getting dry. I put some water right in here, and it wicked all the way up to the top. That's probably the first time I've seen that happen, versus when I put some compost in here. So right away, that's an advantage for me. What was really exciting, I'm going to say the second day, but really the third day, my seeds were starting to come up. Again, they're not deep. Remember, I just put a light covering over it. My broccoli rabe is up, and I think I had more than 20 seeds. So again, I wasn't counting, but there's quite a bit more, it looks like. My Swiss chard has come up. Saturday, it wasn't looking good at all. I figured, boy, that's going to be a bust, but I took the cover off and added the water to the bottom, and it seems to be doing better. My butter crunch lettuce, I believe it's my Viviana, and arugula, nothing. My escarole, I love escarole. I should say, love escarole. And the germination is ridiculous right now. I've never had this many seeds, and these are seeds that I've had from a year ago, maybe more. So to see this result is, it was actually exciting to see, because I can't wait to get these into the tower and into the soil. Just today, I noticed my sweet cherry tomatoes. Again, those are the larger ones. I've got a couple that have germinated, so they're up. They're very small, tough to see. My butternut squash, nothing yet. I wouldn't expect. Usually about a week before that happens. I'm going to grab the camera, and I'm just going to do a close-up here so you can get a better idea of what it looks like, because it's probably difficult to see from here. As I stated the other day, or in the other video, now from here I'm going to go into 2-inch soil blocks. So I have my soil block maker here, and I'll make some soil blocks up, and the other half, or whatever that works out to be, is going to be in rock wool cubes. So you saw what one of those cubes looked like the other day with the tomato plant. So I did, well, you saw that I did a black cherry tomato and a sucker. So I'm going to continue with that, as these tomatoes and actually these seedlings, I'm going to leave them in the rock wool cubes in a tray until they get a little bit bigger. Then I'll stick them in the tower. Now, later today, I'm going to fill up my second tower. I've got my 20-gallon reservoir I've set up over here, and the reason for that is so that I can quickly fill up a 5-gallon bucket and replenish what might have been used in the 20 gallons of each reservoir for the tower. So I have 2 towers. So that'll give me 4 opportunities to add 5 gallons to each one. Real quick, in the beginning, these towers don't use a lot of the growing solution because the plants are small, so they're not uptaking a lot of that. Now at some point, I'll let the solution get low. We'll pump out almost all of it if possible, and then start fresh with 20 gallons. So let me grab the camera, and I'll give you a close-up here, and then I'll go ahead and prick a few out, and we'll start out by putting them into the rock wool cubes. My producer over here, he's busy cleaning himself. He was out running around in the yard early in the morning. It's actually early today. It's 8:15 again, and we're looks like about 65 inside the greenhouse. We're in the low 60s outside. So we're starting to get into a cooler trend. Although yesterday inside the greenhouse we were right around 100 degrees. Alrighty, a little cappuccino here before it gets cold. All right. Oh, look at this. Come on, it's looking good. All right, let me show you what this looks like. You want to say hello, Primo? What's happening? Oh, he's so handsome. Okay, enough about Primo. Okay, first we're going to stop off at the broccoli rabe, and again, November 12th. It's the 16th, so it was started. So 4 days from when we started, and they actually look really healthy. Now remember, when a seed germinates, sorry about that, when a seed germinates, it's got a lot of the nutrition it needs up until this state. In fact, it's really loaded with nutrients. That's why microgreens are really healthy. So here I wasn't overly concerned with being able to feed these, but now it's critical that we get them out of this growing matter and into the rock wool cubes, which I'll have a layer of the growing solution. So another reason why I'm mixing up the 20 gallons in that reservoir. Here's the beets. Let me kind of get steady here. They're looking much better, so I think we'll have success in pricking those out. And next, what's significant is you can see the escarole right there, right? That row. I hope I didn't mislabel it. I don't think it's the arugula, which is the results I'd expect for arugula, but if that's escarole, jackpot. And right there you can see the sweet cherry tomatoes. There's another one. So we've got 1, 2, 3. We have 3 so far. Oh, is that a butternut squash coming up here? Yeah, check it out. Look at that. Right there, butternut squash. So we have 1 that's starting to germinate. Okay, let me go ahead and set up the tripod, and we'll see if I can show you how to prick these out into a rock wool cube. I've never done it into rock wool. I've done it into soil. So let's go ahead and check that out. If you recall in last week's video, I'm gonna get this cover off. This is the cilantro microgreens, and let me see if I can point this out here. You could see they're starting to germinate right here. So again, I hope that's good focus. That's not an ancho pepper. It's a cilantro microgreen, and so we're getting some good germination. It's wicking really well. I mean, look at, I just pulled this out and it's dripping away here. So this looks like it's going to work out well. Hopefully in the next few days we'll be enjoying some delicious, nutritious microgreens. Super excited. Now, I've soaked my rock wool cubes right here, and I'm gonna break a few off because they're wet, they're saturated. Now, the other day I talked about there's a hole. Now these, I forget what size these are. I think they're just under 2 inches, but you can get them with a small hole like this one, or they have a larger opening. I prefer the small hole. Now what I like to do is come in and open that hole up a little bit more. And if I was starting a seed in here, which I do quite often, I want that seed down, and I'll just take this and I'll come back around and I'll cover it up. That's worked out okay for me in the past. Today, we'll see if we can successfully prick out 6 of the broccoli rabe and 6 of the escarole, and from there I'm going to cover it in this vermiculite. It's a very fine horticulture variety. And so we'll see if I can then backfill a little bit to help stabilize the stem of the plants. So I'm going to just use a butter knife. I have something else that's usually a little better. Let me take my glasses off, because I've got to get down in here. So I'm going to go ahead and start with this batch right here, only because they're tightly together here. And let me scoot this way a little bit. They're in a tight formation, and they're more up towards the surface. So all I'm going to do is just lift up very gently. I don't want to disturb it too much. Now, this is going to be hard trying to show you, but so there's what we have. Okay, hopefully you can see the root formation. We have decent root coming right there. Now, let's try and get it inside this hole here without damaging. Remember, this is a very fragile stage. And I'm going to take my tweezers and just very lightly, my goal is to get all the way down in the bottom. And I think I've got that. So there's what we have sticking up. Let's see if I can get a little bit of this vermiculite. And I'm not overly concerned with overpacking it, but I do want to get enough in there that it'll give some support. So that's all I'm looking to do here. This will also keep some moisture around the stem. Okay, so I'm going to do this 5 more times for the broccoli rabe, and then we'll come back and work on some escarole. Now I'm going to just temporarily put this in my tray I have with just water in it. Later on, I've got another tray here that I'll put some of the growing. Here's the other tray. Sorry, I have to remember the camera's at a different angle. I'll fill this up just a little bit so that the rock wool cubes can wick up, and we'll show you that when we get a little bit further along. So let me do 5 more of these. We'll come back and we'll work on the escarole. We're back on my 6th escarole. Now, I should have mentioned earlier, I know I focused on a clump over here, but ideally you want to get the best looking, the most healthiest seedling. I just did that because I didn't like the way it was going. It was too far up to the surface, but I'm going to be transplanting these real soon. So again, I'm going to pick a nice healthy one, and I'm not going to even lift it up. Let's see how easy this comes out. All right, so that's just a test. And you can see we have, look at how long that root is. It's almost as long as the plant itself, so it came right out. So again, another reason why I'm very pleased with this growing medium that I've used here. And I'm gently trying to tuck it in there. I don't want to hurt that root. And I'm going to just finally come back with a little vermiculite, and that's it. Now I've got to label these because I will forget. So I've kept my broccoli rabe to the back side of the tray. It's probably out of camera angle, and the other side's here. Next, we're going to go ahead and make up some 2-inch soil blocks. I've already added my compost to this mixture. And again, sticking with the same ratio, right? So it's 1 to 1. So I've got 1 part of compost, 1 part of vermiculite, 1 part of perlite, and 1 part peat moss. Additionally, I added in some slow release organic fertilizer and some blood meal, and I had just a little bit of lime, so I put some in there. I think it's lime. And anyway, so that's what's going to be used for my 2-inch soil block. All right, I'm sorry that I didn't have this set up to actually show you a little bit better how to make the soil blocks, but we could revisit that another time. Again, today's really was about pricking out my seedlings. So I've got my material in the bottom of the soil block. I haven't tested this. Again, I'm trying to get this done really quick today. So all you do now is pull up, and sometimes they'll want to stick just a little bit if it's too moist or not moist enough. And again, I did not spend a lot of time today making sure I had a good mixture. That's okay. Now, if I was going to make 4 more, I would rinse this in water. So you want to keep it clean as you're making your soil blocks. So that's what we have. And now we'll go ahead and prick out. I'm going to go with the escarole. I'm going to take my hat off. It's getting way too hot in here. I'm going to go with the escarole, and we'll put it in here. Now, before I do that, I want to cheat a little bit, and I want to make a little bit of a hole a little bit lower here. And the reason for that is I really want to get the roots in this as much as possible. So again, I'm gently, because until you get roots in here, and the beauty of a soil block is as the roots start to grow out of the block of soil, they air prune. So what that forces the plant to do is grow a lot more of those roots, and that actually helps hold this soil block together. And now we have some nutrients in this growing material, so this is going to help also with the health of the seedling. So again, I'm carefully making this a little deeper because these are very delicate at this stage. Now, sticking with I told you earlier, I'm just going to grab, now that one, I don't know if I lost some root, so I'm not going to continue to do that, but we'll put this one in anyway. And these are so small. I got to take my glasses off again. And let me see if I can get this down into that hole that I made. Yep. Okay. Hopefully I can pick this up. So there it is. Let me get my vermiculite. And now I'm going to use this as almost a top dressing versus putting some soil. Okay, so I'm going to get that in around there as best we can. And that's what we look like. That didn't work out as planned. Never does. All right. Okay, so there's one. Let's do another one, but this time I'm going to pick up the growing solution here. I don't want to lose any of the root, so let me just make sure I'm not in the way. So now that I've lifted that up a little bit, all right, now look at the difference in the root. Okay, quite a bit more. So it's probably best to take your time and not force the process here, and loosen up that soil a little bit and prick it out properly. Say that 3 times fast. Now, Charles Dowding. This is where I learned about this, so you all might want to check out his YouTube videos. He's great as far as what's called the no-dig method and the pricking of the seedlings and starting compost. So his website is a really good resource. Okay, there we go. I'm going to go ahead and do a few more of these, and then we'll come back and I'll show you. Actually, before I do that, let me swing the camera around and I'll show you how my tower garden setup is progressing. We're back at the towers. I found a worm. He's trying to get out of the raised bed. We'll put him back in there. I don't want to waste his poop. Okay, so in the other video I mentioned after 24 hours I'm going to cycle this to 15 minutes on, 15 off. So that's what's happening. This sucker, it's not doing real well. I'm getting a little bit of rot on the bottom. That could be that I just watered it too much. This other one's doing really well. Okay, this is the one that I took the soil off, rinsed the roots as best I could. I did want to talk about my 20-gallon reservoir. This is a food grade, and what I'll do is I'll fill this up with 20 gallons of water, let it sit at least 24 hours, because again I'm using the city water, and I'll mix up my grow solution in here. Now on the back of these towers I do have it set up with a float valve, so I could hook this up to here and it would gravity feed into the tower. And as the water dropped down in the reservoir, that float valve is going to drop down and therefore open up the gravity feed. So I used to have it set up that way on all of my towers. Not sure if I'm going to do that or not. But for now, I'm high enough up where I could open this up, fill up a 5-gallon bucket, and then just slide the cover back and add my 5 gallons. So we'll see. You know, this is a work in progress. It all comes down to what do I feel like doing and what else I have going on. I still have that whole corner over there to clean up. And the reason for that now is I've got two other towers, not quite sure what to do with, and I have some tools I've got to get organized, get them back into my shed. And I actually have another tower right over here. So I've got, yeah, the two towers, the one furthest and this one here. And also real quick, I have these spools of twine that hook up. I don't know if you can see it or not. Up here I've got some metal wire running from front to rear of the greenhouse. These hook on, and when you squeeze them you could pull out your twine. That'll allow me to vine up my tomato plants. That's why I moved this tower closer here instead of up against. The other tower is going to be just for leafy greens, vegetables, lettuce. So I'm keeping that a little bit closer to the side. So it allows me, as I walk in the greenhouse, it'll open up. I don't need to use a trellis system for the Swiss chard kale. Even though sometimes they get really big, it's helpful. My goal is to stay on top of it and harvest those larger leaves before I would have to trellis it. So that's kind of the game plan. So I've got to get those stored away. I don't need as many as I have. Last year I had two trellis systems running front to rear, and in the front, what I'll call left corner, I had a tower with, actually I had two towers next to each other there that had cherry tomatoes, and it looked like a jungle in here. I'll see if I can find a photo, and we'll just pop that in there for kicks to show you how overgrown it got. It was all the way up to the ceiling. It was wrapping around down the sides. It was a tomato jungle in here. Gotta love a greenhouse, man. You know, the best time to sit in a greenhouse is probably the end of December, January, February, in again, Florida Zone 9B. It could be maybe in the 40s high during the day, and you come in here, you're in the 70s. It doesn't get any better. I've caught Stacy in here sitting on a chair reading a magazine. I've come in here and sipped a nice craft beer. That's right. You get a lot of joy out of your greenhouse. Okay, so that's what we've got going on right now. It's Monday. We'll come back on Friday and we'll give you the official week or week 4 update. I have to start thinking about what the winter is going to look like outside. So my goal is to get that broccoli rabe harvested and eaten. We've been eating the crap out of it, to be quite honest with you. I've put it in eggplant, I've put it on pizza sauteed. We've had it just sauteed by itself. It's delicious. But I need to get it out of there. I don't think it's going to do well. I have a lot in here, and I'll have some in the towers. So I need to start some cauliflower and cabbage seeds, and that's what I'll put out there. Remember, I have those row covers, so during the winter I'll put the row covers on, and that'll help with the frost issues. So I've done cabbage outside. I had a raised garden bed on the side of the greenhouse last winter. They did great, and from there most of it will be used to make a sauerkraut. So if you haven't fermented your own sauerkraut, you need to check it out. It's really good. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and prick out some more of these seeds, and I'll continue this throughout the week. Okay, I don't want to spend all day pricking these seeds out. I did just want to show you because I have some that I needed to do today, and I thought before I get started with everything else I've got to do around the homestead, that I'd show you that process. Again, I'll be back Friday. I'll show you how my seedlings are doing, whether they're still in this tray or in the soil blocks or in the rock wool cubes. I've already stuck them back here. I'll have to see how they do. I might need to bring them in the house. It might get too hot out here, so I'll have to monitor that. Anyway, well listen, thanks again. We'll finish this up on Friday. Leave me alone. I'm busy farming here. This is how you do it. All right, I'll see you later. Morning. Welcome back. It's Friday. Time for our update. Okay, so we are still at it, pricking away here. There it is. Hold on one second. I need to talk about something here. By now you probably know how much I like a good cappuccino. Let's talk a bit about it. Gotta have your espresso, nice strong Italian coffee, organic at the bottom. A little bit of milk, and then on top is the froth of the milk, the creme. There it is. It's a little bit of cinnamon on top. That's really good. This could be very frustrating at times doing this solo. 5 minutes of filming, zero audio. So, take 2 on the update. It's getting frustrating. All right, I'll show you all this in a second. I don't want to move too much. This is where I started my seeds. I've been pricking out my seedlings as they're growing and putting them into my 2-inch soil blocks. I have a tray of these type containers that have the soil and fertilizer blood meal. Now I'm going to use some of these smaller ones. We have the 2-inch soil blocks and we have the rock wool cubes. We'll talk about that in just a minute. What I want to do is, with this growing material, again, it is the peat moss, perlite, and vermiculite only. As I prick these out and I free up space, I'm going to start some more seeds in there. Again, there's no nutrients, so I'm going to see if I can keep reusing this. It's worked out really well so far. Excuse me. So Monday I talked about wanting to start some seeds for outside, specifically cauliflower and cabbage. And I couldn't find any cauliflower. I'm sorry, I couldn't find my cabbage seeds. I did find cauliflower. So I've got about 6 of the larger cherry tomatoes. Once I prick those out, I'll start with my cauliflower. We're going to talk about the microgreens, the cilantro, which was in the growing material. I don't know that I'm satisfied with how it's growing. It's looking good, but it's coming up on a week, and usually 3 to 5 days, it's ready to harvest. So I did find my microgreen arugula seeds, and we're going to plant those in this. Now this has the added soil, fertilizer, and blood meal. So going forward, we'll do some updates. Now we'll be able to compare microgreens that have nutrients versus in a very simple seed starting material. All right, in just a second, I want to give you an update on where I'm going with my compost tea. As I said, I want to talk about my my compost tea and some thoughts I have. Now, I've got 4 applications of the compost tea now that I've put down. And I think what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to go to a monthly application of the compost tea. And in between, I'm going to use the fish fertilizer and just water. And I'll do that 3 weeks, and then the week 4, I'll go to the compost tea. And the reason for that is I think my soil has really responded nicely. And again, I started out doing the compost tea because I wanted to make sure I had a healthy soil. And I think I've achieved that goal. So now it's just about fertilizing with an organic material, and that is the fish fertilizer, right? I got one more here, really small one, only because I want to get these out of the way. We'll stick that in here. It may or may not survive. And The reason, again, is in this area where I had the tomatoes, I want to go ahead and do my cauliflower. By the way, anybody know what this is? Called the dibbler. Anyway, who cares, all right? Now, I'm going to do some cauliflower, and again, we're going to prick these out once they start to germinate and pop up, and we'll transplant them. Again, this is just the growing medium we're using to start our seeds. We won't do too many. That's probably way too many as it is. And so I just made a little bit of a divot channel, and I'm just going to cover that back up. Now this soil is nice and moist, so I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm going to put escarole in here. Now let me grab some of what I've got here, and we'll show you close up, and then we'll head outside and do a quick update, and then back in here. All right, so we'll start with the seed starting tray, if you will. All right, you can see the broccoli rabe that I still have there, the Swiss chard, which remember Monday I talked about over the weekend on Saturday, the week before. I was concerned about it. I've already transplanted some of my Swiss chard. It's doing well. None of my lettuce has come up. There's the rest of my escarole and the butternut squash. I've got 3 here. I've already transplanted 1. Soil blocks. I believe this is the escarole. Doing really well, right? Looking good. Not a lot of growth, but we just did it. Let's talk about the other seeds that I've pricked out. I've got them right here. Might have been off camera. So we have from left to right. So left over here, the broccoli rabe, some escarole. There's the Swiss chard I talked about. Whoops. And I have the butternut squash, and I have one of the tomato plants here. Again, that's with the soil and fertilizer added. Doing really well. Let me grab the rock wool cubes. I'm going to set this down for 1 second here. Should be able to put it right there. Let's quickly talk about our microgreens. There's the cilantro. Hey, it's looking good. This might be viable. It just seems like it's a little bit slower than normal as far as how quick I'm getting to where this is completely full and I can start to harvest the upper part of it. Very nutritious at this stage. Put this down here. Now, we've got the broccoli rabe towards the back here. Looking good. Now remember, these are going to go into my towers, and there's the escarole. Everything's looking good, nice and green. Remember, this has the Tower Garden growing solution in it. So that's where we're at as far as what we started pricking out. Now, let's grab the camera. We'll head outside and we'll take a look at what's going on in the food forest and raised garden beds, and then we'll finish up back in here. Things are looking really good in here, so we'll save the best for last, if you will, because again, this is what's going to carry me through the winter. All right, let's go outside. There's the San Marzano tomato plant. Again, it's thriving. Yeah, Stacy's jumping the gun. Merry Christmas. All right, there's the marigolds. There are my Roma tomato plants. There's the rosemary. Now, I am blown away. I mean, Pete, my buddy Pete over at Green Dreams TV, if you're watching, my friend, have you ever seen this much of the fruit and flowering going on a black Suriname cherry. I mean, this is outstanding, and you could see right in there, if it will focus, actual fruit, and we have all the flowers. Now back over here, broccoli rabe. We've almost eaten all of it. The large leaves there that are almost at the top of the hoop, those are the radishes. You can see I've been harvesting off of the the kale and the Swiss chard, and look at the size of the beets. You know, I do have a small cooking channel under Nonno, Nonno Zaccardi, Ziccardy, where I just posted a video for my nephew Camden on sauteed broccoli rabe. You might want to check that out. Now, there is, I mean, come on, look at this. That's that purple basil. Back there, you can see the Swiss chard, celery. Getting some weeds I got to do. Now, look at the basil. All right, that's a good sign. I have several basil plants. That is I believe that's cauliflower there, and the fennel. All right, so looking good. There's another basil plant right there. And we'll come back over here, give you a quick pan of the food forest. Again, everything's thriving. Let's head in the greenhouse. We're starting at the tower. There's the tomato plant that I transferred from soil, and it's doing well. The tomato plants that I cut from suckers, not doing well at all. There's the broccoli rabe. Now, I've harvested a lot of this. Look at the growth on the, I believe it's a chocolate cherry tomato. I'm contemplating with putting that into the tower. These are the zucchini. There's two there. They're doing well. I've put some broccoli rabe in there. There's the broccoli rabe that I had pricked out as I thinned. I'm going to say it's doing really well. The fennel, not so much. There's the Roma tomato, getting some nice growth. And right up at the very top, it's probably going to be hard to see, but right in there, I can find where I'm at, is the formation of a flower. These are my beets. Look at the size of these. I haven't even looked down there. Oh yeah. So, there we go. We've got beets going. Remember, those were all direct sowed. There's more of the broccoli rabe and carrots. There's another Roma tomato. There's the broccoli rabe that was thinned out. All looks great. So I'm really loving the results of the organic compost tea. Hold on a second here. Look at this. My director, he wants to get back in his director's chair. Okay, now, excuse me, over to the next raised bed. There's more of the broccoli rabe that I've pricked out. There's the Swiss chard and fennel. And as we come towards the back, there's the other Roma tomato, fennel, Swiss chard, beets. All right, there's the organic honey gold baby potatoes. Again, they were planted November 1st. That's looking really good. All right, very happy. Again, this is all from the compost tea. All right, there we go. Arugula, microgreens. You ought to start growing them. Okay, so that's it for our week 4 update. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, how you think things are growing inside and outside. What do you think about the different ways we're starting seeds and the growing techniques, from the raised beds to the towers to the different way we're doing the seeds, from the 2-inch soil blocks to the trays like this, to the Rockwell cubes, to microgreens. All right, we're at 80 degrees. It's probably 9 a.m. at best. Look, here's where it gets even better. I talked about a minute ago my cooking channel, and I do that mainly for my nephew. I don't have a lot of subscribers. I think I have 62. But I'm trying to make some healthy recipes for my nephew Camden. And just the other day, I filmed a broccoli rabe sauteed with white wine, some nice Italian fennel sausage, and I used a farfalle brown rice pasta, gluten-free. My point is, when you can grow some of what you're putting into what you're cooking, my friends, it just doesn't get any better. End of story. Period. So, thanks for watching. I'm going to continue doing this. Basically, this is unscripted. This is what's growing on here in my food forest, raised garden beds, and greenhouse. I hope you guys like this. If not, let me know. But this is a journey, and this is what I love about this, is it's a lot of fun just experimenting. And then when you get to eat the organic vegetables and fruits that you've grown, I think at that point you're getting back to a very simple, wholesome lifestyle. It's a healthy lifestyle, and it's not only good for your body, it's really good for your soul. So thanks again for watching. I know these are getting a little bit long, but there's a lot of stuff we're covering here, and hopefully you can pick and choose what you like and what you want to try. Look, you could start by growing in a solo cup. Make a couple of holes, get some potting mix from your store, and start right there. It doesn't matter. Start with some herbs. You gotta love nature. All right, leave me alone. I'm busy farming, cooking, exercising, and just living a very simple, healthy lifestyle. And that's what my my social media has been about since surviving cancer. No-no's wholesome living. And that says it all as far as I'm concerned. It's about eating healthy, growing healthy fruits, vegetables, exercising, getting stress out of your life. So I really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you back here next Friday for week 5 update on what's growing on here. All right, leave me alone. I'm busy. I'll see you next time. Ciao. All right, Primo. Tell everyone we'll see you next time. Back here at the greenhouse. Leave me alone. I'm busy farming and sleeping.